Hello and welcome. This is Out Motorsports. My name is Jake and this is the 2021 Genesis GV80. Before we get too far into this, I'm gonna apologize for my face. This is not something I would normally do, but I was so excited about the GV80 that I ripped the driver's door open straight into my cheek, almost caught my eye, and cut myself. So if you notice something a little off, it's because I over exuberantly opened the driver's door of this GV80 when I was moving it around my parking garage. So if I was that excited about the GV80 enough to injure myself, let me tell you why. This is the bigger of the two SUVs, crossovers, whatever you want to call them, from Genesis, which is the luxury brand that has come out of the Kia and Hyundai group. So Genesis sits above those two, and they have a couple sedans. They have actually three sedans, a G70, a G80, and a G90, that kind of range between more sporty to more refined and luxurious. The G90 is going to be your biggest and most luxurious. So they have their three sedans, and then they have now added two crossovers to the mix because obviously Americans love their crossovers. Now, this is the bigger of the two. This one came out first by just a little bit, and this is going to be sized kind of in the large mid-size segment. So if you're looking for direct competitors, think of things like the Volvo XC90, the Mercedes-Benz GLE, the BMW X5. Those sorts of vehicles are going to be about the same size as this Genesis GV80. And if this is a little too big for you, they have one called the GV70 that's a little bit smaller. That's more along the lines of the Audi SQ5, the BMW X3, those sorts of vehicles. So they've got two good options in the two big segments of the market right now, and this one fits in the bigger of those two. This GV80 in particular is a two-row, five-passenger version of this vehicle, but if you would like a third row, you can get it if you go to the very top trim, which is called the Advanced Plus. That is the, like I said, very top trim of the GV80, and you will get a third row that adds two more seats to your seating capacity for a total of 7 people. So let's talk about what this 2021 Genesis GV80 actually is, and then we'll get it out on the road and see how it is to drive. Now, before we get too far into this, please take a second, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. We would really appreciate the support. A lot of you have been subscribing lately. Thank you so much. The more support we have, the more fun we can do with cars and trucks and everything in between. So let's talk about what this GV80 is. Like I said, this is the mid-sizer in the Genesis segment. They don't really have a large three-row that would compete with something like the Mercedes GLS or the BMW X7, but that's okay. Most people are buying something like this or a little bit smaller. They've got what matters. Now, drivetrain-wise, let's talk about what's under the hood of this 2021 GV80. I'm gonna open the door very carefully and watch my face here. And let's talk about what's under the hood of this thing. So this is the 3.5T, which is going to be the more powerful version of the GV80. There's also a more basic 2.5T, which is going to be a turbocharged 4-cylinder that makes 300 horsepower. 300 horsepower is a lot, especially from a turbo 4, but this one is a turbocharged V6. So it's actually a twin turbo motor. Like I said, V6, 6 cylinders. This is another 75 horsepower on top of the 4-cylinder. So it's 375 horsepower and 391 pound-feet of torque. And that power and torque flows down to the ground through a Genesis in-house 8-speed automatic torque converter transmission and through optional all-wheel drive. This vehicle is more or less fully loaded except for that third row seat with the Advanced Plus package. So this is a 3.5 twin turbo V6, 8-speed automatic, and all-wheel drive. Now, the interesting thing about the GV80 in particular, compared to a lot of other crossovers on the market, is that yes, it's all-wheel drive. A lot of people want that, but you can kind of tell with the proportions of this, these actually start as a rear-wheel drive vehicle. So if you don't get all-wheel drive, it is optional. You can have a rear-drive GV80 because that is how this platform starts off. So you can tell with the proportions and how it kind of sits, it's kind of back on its haunches a little bit. Side note, I think it's tremendously good looking. Style is, you know, in the eye of the beholder. However, I really like this. Regardless, this starts as a rear drive chassis, then you get all-wheel drive if you'd like it, and that is how it comes. So this is a rear biased all-wheel drive setup. And then in this car's case, this also has both the Prestige package and the Advanced package for the GV80, and this has an electronically controlled limited slip differential on the rear axle. So a little more fine control beyond just the basic all-wheel drive system. So it's not just open diff at the rear, it's a limited slip diff at the back. So for those of us who care about the driving experience, it can also help if you've got some bad rain, bad snow, where one of your rear wheels is on very slippery, pavement, no real traction, and the other wheel is on some really grippy surface, it'll send all that power to the one wheel, and it does it mechanically with some computer controls. It doesn't rely on just braking that one spinning wheel. So nice touch available from Genesis. Now, like I said, this has both the Prestige and Advanced packages. So let's talk about what else that gets you, because this is a very well-equipped vehicle. Starting with your exterior, you've got these 22-inch wheels. These are, of course, optional as part of these top trim levels and packages. If you're living somewhere with a lot of potholes and kind of lousy roads, you want a smaller wheel with a bigger sidewall tire, you can get a 20-inch wheel, or another wheel I think is an 18 if you're down towards the starting point of the GV80. Now inside is where the GV80 really shines. You've got a lot of nice content, especially on this top Prestige Advanced vehicle with this top trim of the GV80. So starting with the front row, these front seats are of course heated and ventilated. They have a roll-out thigh bolster for both driver and passenger, which is great if you're tall and have long legs. They also have this sort of massaging function. I believe Genesis calls it ergo motion. You do have adjustable side bolsters here, which will help you stay in place for some tighter cornering, and those actually inflate and deflate based on which drive mode you're in. So if you're in comfort, they're a little looser. If you're in sport, they're a little tighter. Kind of a nice touch. Moving to the second row of the vehicle, you also have heated and ventilated seats back there. Obviously the third seat in the middle is not really going to have much going on because this is really going to be a 4-passenger vehicle most of the time. But those outboard seats in the second row are heated and ventilated. All of your seating surfaces are covered in Napa leather. That's a part of this top trim. And something else you'll notice just looking around the whole interior, there's kind of a lack of exposed plastic in almost the entire interior, which is really impressive, especially when you're up at this price point. This is supposed to be competing with a lot of other established luxury brands. Genesis is a newcomer relatively to the luxury market. They're a new brand in particular, but they have really done some impressive stuff in here. So it's Napa leather everywhere, it's soft touch materials everywhere. There's some plastics, you know, on the B-pillars between the doors where you're never gonna look, touch, feel, see anything. That's fine, but everywhere is just really beautifully well done. And in this particular car's example, the headliner is also kind of an Alcantara faux suede sort of material. So again, really nice, elevated, premium feeling materials. Now with all that, we have to talk price. Before we get behind the wheel, everyone's gonna wanna know, what does this thing cost? Well, like I said, this is more or less the fully loaded version of the 2021 Genesis GV80. And again, as a reminder, these are competing with the Mercedes-Benz GLE, BMW X5. We're gonna stick with just those two as direct competitors for this discussion. This is priced at $73,500. So that is a pretty good amount of money just on the surface, right? 73 grand is a lot of money to a lot of people, myself included. However, go on the Mercedes-Benz website, build a GLE 450, which makes similar power and torque figures out of a similar boosted 6-cylinder, and add all the features to the GLE 450 that the GV80 has. You're gonna spend almost $10,000 more, truly. Now go to the BMW website, build an X5. Try to configure the X5 to have all the features that this GV80 has. You're gonna get close, but you can't necessarily do it, so it'll come in a little bit cheaper, right around $70,000. So if you're going feature by feature, a lot of people want all the features more than necessarily the ultimate sporty driving experience, which is kind of where BMW's trying to go, or they're trying to get all of the features, all of the luxury, all of the refinement, and maybe not spend Mercedes-Benz money. It would be $80,000, $81,000 or more. Here you go, 73 grand for a fully loaded one. If you don't want the Prestige trim level, if you don't want the advanced package, you can certainly do this car for about $10,000 less and still get most of the same content, just without some of the ultra luxe touches that Genesis puts at the very top of their trim range. So with all that, let's hop behind the wheel and see how this 2021 Genesis GV80 is to drive. All right, so driving the 2021 Genesis GV80. I'm leaving it in comfort mode to start. There is a sport mode in your drive mode dial, but I think this is more of a car you drive in comfort mode. As much as Genesis is trying to be luxury and sport, I think this one sits far more on the luxury end of things than anything. So with that said, this weighs about 5,000 pounds, and Car and Driver clocked it at 5.3 seconds 0 to 60. So it's not necessarily slow. Putting it in sport mode ramps up throttle response a little bit, which is good if you're in the city actually. But otherwise, it's not going to change that much other than like damper stiffness. If I hit it here, first of all, I think it sounds good. I think the sound of the V6 is pretty good, and it's snappy enough in comfort or sport to the point that I don't necessarily think you're getting much out of it adding sport, although putting it in sport for the sake of city driving is actually where I liked it most for the sake of throttle response. Now this car does have adaptive dampers, so they will get stiffer or looser based on your drive mode setting. So ultimately, I think for city driving, you'd probably want to have your dampers in comfort, but your throttle response in sport, because it can feel a little soupy around town if you leave it all in comfort. That was my biggest complaint for city driving. As far as acceleration is concerned, it feels fast enough. It doesn't necessarily feel quick. 391 pound-feet, 375 horsepower, they're fine. If you put your foot down, hit the kick down, it's all quick enough. But I don't know, I think the gears are just kind of long. You have to run out the gear longer to build more power, and it just feels a little bit slower than, say, that X5 might. But most people are not going to notice or care. They're really focused on the luxury of this thing otherwise. Like I said, adaptive dampers, fine. 375 horsepower, fine. I do think you really want the 3.5. I think the 2.5 with 300 horsepower would feel actually a little bit slow. So, personal perspective, preference, but 300 horsepower to move 5,000 pounds plus all of the people and stuff that's in it is not, I don't know if that's enough or not. So, I would prefer the 3.5 for sure. On the interstate here, this is where this car really excels. This is where it's supposed to excel. I'm gonna hit one button on the steering wheel and this goes into full highway driving assistance mode. This is not a self-driving car. There are no self-driving cars on the market today, including Teslas. None of them can drive themselves. However, the Genesis Highway Driving Assistance Suite is excellent, and that is because it does active lane centering. It knows the road you're on based on the GPS positioning of the car. So the infotainment tells the rest of the car, here's where we're at, here's the road, here's the lanes, and you have to keep your hands on the wheel as with all of these systems, but it does a really nice job staying in the center of the lane. You've also got your basic, adaptive cruise control, so I'm getting traffic up ahead, we're slowing down already. And if you put your signal on, this car has lane change assist. So I'm gonna put my signal on, I have to have my hand on the wheel a little bit, and it's showing me, off we go. It just changed lanes to my left without me actually giving steering input. It just did that on its own. Really nice. It's just kind of a little luxury touch. Obviously, we're all capable of turning the wheel half a click to move over a lane, but again, do it again, and it just moves right on over. So, pretty nice there. You've also got your blind spot monitor cameras. They show in the two gauges and the two dials of your instrument cluster. So, left versus right, it'll show you what's coming based on the cameras on the mirrors. Really nice touch, really slick. And in your heads-up display, it shows you kind of like a Tesla, all these little ghost cars around you of what the Genesis is seeing. So you've got a little confidence that it's not going to just throw you into the other lane or do anything crazy. And this will also adjust your set cruise control speed based on the posted speed limits of the roads if you want it to do that. As far as other things here, the other piece that I don't think I mentioned earlier that's part of the Prestige and Advanced package is active road noise cancellation. So basically what that is the sound system puts out some sound waves that are of the opposite direction, more or less. If you think of a sound wave that goes up and down like this, it plays the opposite direction sound waves to cancel out the road noise around you. And it does work pretty well. You get a little bit of tire noise, you get a little bit of wind noise if it's a windy day, but it is generally a pretty serene experience in here. It's very comfortable, especially if you've got your heated or ventilated seat turned on, the ergo motion massaging turned on. It's letting highway drive assist do its thing. It's all just nice. This would be a really good road trip car, I think. The final piece of this, and this is going to sound absurd, the sound system is fantastic. It's a 21 speaker system. It's branded as Lexicon, which maybe you know of them, maybe you don't, but that's Genesis's premium audio branding company is Lexicon. So 21 speakers in here, including a subwoofer under each front seat, and it is phenomenal. One of the better sound systems I've heard in the last couple years, easily. Now this comes with a caveat. You have to feed your sound systems good source material. And what I mean by that is the free tier of Spotify sent over Bluetooth ain't cutting it. FM radio, not doing it. Sirius XM, bad sound quality. You cannot trust these services to provide a good enough sound file for a system like this to process and output what it can do. So my formula is a music app called Tidal, and it is one of a few. I believe Apple Music is another one that you can use that will stream master quality sound. So that is to say uncompressed. It's not sending you an MP3 with a lot of pieces of the music taken out or overly compressed. It is full, out of the studio quality, CD quality, if not better, sound files. It uses a lot of data. You want an unlimited data plan, yes. However, it's worth it. You're gonna laugh at the song that I was listening to, but Skater Boy by Avril Lavigne has a hidden, very deep bass note to it towards the start several different times. That song came out when I was a wee one, listening to it on like an Iowa boombox, and I have never once heard that note in that song. There are other songs that will do similar things to you where you just, you may not have ever known that certain pieces of the song existed. Just something fascinating. If you're buying a vehicle like this with a sound system that should in theory be this good, you must feed it high quality music to start. Otherwise, you're going to be wholly disappointed. While we're going slower here, a few other final thoughts on this 2021 Genesis GV80. This does not feel like the sportiest thing in the world. I know Genesis as a brand has some excellent, fun, sporty cars. The G70 sedan is an excellent car to drive. This is very much more luxury first, which is fine. That's what a lot of people want. If you're watching this video, I'm sure you're looking for more luxury over sport necessarily. This does not feel like it would necessarily fall on its face if you threw it into a corner. I think in sport mode, the dampers turned up a little bit, it would feel just fine on, twisty, switchbacky sort of mountain roads, especially with more big sweeping corners. It's just not sporty to me. But if you look at it from a luxury vehicle perspective, it is incredibly nice in here. Like I mentioned, all of the surfaces are soft touch, leather wrapped, Alcantara, faux suede, whatever this is, wood trim everywhere. It's just very well done. The one thing that I'm not having the best time with is the sunroof. You've got this front glass panel here, which actually opens, and there's this other glass panel behind you, and you've got a shade that will come out to cover both front and back pieces of glass. It is either the shade or the glass or both, but something rattles up here. And I'm picky about sunroof rattles in particular. If you're listening to music, you'll never hear it, but if the music is off and you're driving somewhere that's not perfectly flat, perfectly well paved, this one in particular is rattling a little bit. I'm sure Genesis will be mortified to hear that, and if you made an appointment to have your car looked at, they would certainly try to take care of it, and I bet they could. But this particular vehicle, I have to mention it, there's a sunroof rattle. Now the other thing, speaking of Genesis service, this is a really nice piece of all this. When you buy these vehicles new, there is the basically Genesis Concierge service. So if your vehicle needs any sort of service, whether it's a repair or just maintenance, even an oil change, Genesis will actually come to you. They will bring you another vehicle as a loaner car. They will take yours away to do whatever needs doing, and then they will coordinate another swap time and bring you your car back. So the theory there is once you take delivery of your Genesis the first time, you don't have to deal with a dealership service department and the hassle of taking your car somewhere and getting it back and rescheduling meetings and kid drop-offs and all these different appointments that we all have. They just bring it to you wherever and whenever is convenient. It's a really nice touch. I've got a friend with a G70 and he has had just the best experience with it. And it's it seems pretty nice, at least from the experience he's had. So again, kudos to Genesis for putting some program together like that. All right, and that is it for this review of the 2021 Genesis GV80 3.5T all-wheel drive Prestige with Advanced Package. Thank you so much for coming along. As always, please be sure to subscribe right here on YouTube and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss a single thing coming up. The more support we have from people like you, the more fun we can have with cars and trucks and all things automotive and motorsport. You can also give us a follow on Facebook and Instagram at Out Motorsports. And if you're looking to connect with other LGBT automotive enthusiasts and motorsports competitors, please head over to outmotorsports.com. We have a whole community over there and we would love to have you join us. Until next time, please stay safe, be well. We'll see you again soon.